It's not very often where I have to make a video to retract or correct a previous opinion of mine, but today is the day, and unfortunately it's related to Fire Emblem Shadows. I know a lot of you guys in the comments were defending this game and trying to bring to light about the fact that it's fun in short bursts and it's meant for just casual, lighthearted play. And while I get that, and I understand the sentiment, a bad game that is unbalanced is not forgivable. However, it feels like I may have found a little bit of balance and a little bit more nuance and depth to this game, because maybe I have Stockholm Syndrome, but after my video I did go back and I did play more and I did experiment with different sets and moves and skills and tried to actually understand it. So the game isn't great. I will preface this by saying I still think this needs a lot more work and balance and nuance and depth for it to become potentially a great game. I think it does have some things that might not be correctable without them overhauling it completely. But for the sake of being fair, and I did mention in one of my responses to someone in the comments before that if I did find something that makes this game redeemable, I would correct myself. So yes, I'm not beyond looking back at things and fixing my opinions if I do have them. Having said that, if you do enjoy my content and you have been following, a lot of people are new to this channel with Fire Emblem Shadows. I am covering Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and working on some character analysis, so maybe check out some of my other videos and like and subscribe and all that stuff, but also let me know if you're still playing Shadows. But let's dive into some of the things with nuances. Now, one of the things that's most commonly critiqued is the imbalance between light and dark. And I actually have a boost of sorts to light. One of the major things they talked about was the vote. A truly good imposter or traitor will still split the vote 50-50 no matter what. I did play a couple of more high-ranked games. You can see my Karina is level 6, so I've gotten a little bit further in the ranks and started to play some people who actually know what they're doing. And a good traitor, like myself, will be able to split the vote no matter what. You will generally not have people who both vote for you as the traitor. You'll confuse someone, most likely, if you know what you're doing, if you upkeep your attacks, if you continue to heal, if you continue to kill while also weaving in confusing attacks. There's no way that you can 100% tell who the traitor is. It's impossible. And a good traitor will be able to throw you off to the point where it is a 50-50 guesswork. In terms of the light team, even if you can't tell who it is, there are ways to mitigate that second phase of battle. And I think that's my main issue with this game, is the first phase does matter, but it doesn't really matter, because a good light player can be, to a certain extent, invincible, and we'll talk about some of the unfortunate ways that you're not invincible and maybe some metas. I think some of the players of this game are going to hate me for revealing some of these tactics, but they're nerds and have no life, and I don't care. So I'm going to tell everyone. Okay, so let's talk about the light phase tactics that I have figured out from diving further into the skills. And I will use Got Hold for this. He was the one who I was messing around with sort of in the low level, just to mess around with some of the skills. So if you go into my magic setup, you will see that I have a lot of just swap skills and no damage skills. So the one thing that attracted me to Got Hold. This is really annoying, actually, that you can't just click on a magic skill. Oh, I guess you can tell what it does at the bottom. Never mind. The one nice thing about Got Hold is he has this Cross Shield EX, which is 51% less weapon damage, and it's permanent to all targets in a plus pattern. This is really, really good. You toss it on at the beginning of the battle, and that's it. It's there for the rest of the entire battle. Usually at the start of a battle with the imposter in phase 2, you can get it on both of your allies. So you throw that on, and it's just there, and you immediately have a flat mitigation buff. Everything else I have on him are swaps. One of them is a self-heal push, which pushes your unit up forward one space, and if there's an enemy in front of you, you swap positions with them. The second swap is a minor pull, and what it does is it will pull your enemy back towards you and swap positions again. And so what you can do is, if the imposter is a square in front of you, you can keep alternating between these two skills. Whenever they use their imposter skill that takes 2 seconds to proc and you see that red square underneath you, you can swap them into that and they will kill themselves, basically. So this is one way of making yourself completely invincible to the enemy's attack. These are all 2-second cooldowns, and the enemy's attack skills are usually 9-second cooldowns for the most part. So it's a pretty good deal. You're going to be pretty invincible. You're going to give your ally enough time to fire off shots or clean up monsters around you and stuff like that. And you can even swap the traitor monsters into these as well to get them to damage themselves. So that's a good thing. The other one I have is Edge Break, which inflicts less weapon damage on your enemy. This is also permanent, so they just do less damage to you. Now, the problem with these is it is specifically weapon damage. It's not spell damage, or at least I think it's not. Correct me if I'm wrong. But spells will still do their full damage to you, and they will not be mitigated. So that is one thing that you have to dodge. And I don't know if that's a good balance or a bad balance, because traitors have a way of doing a lot of damage. But if you want to play the light team, this is an effective method that I have found for you to be fairly invincible. A good tank, you have a team of 2 people, so one person who's tanking, another person who's damaging. It's not foolproof. You can mix in a little bit. This is a swap here, Wind Strike. It's more of a 2-tile swap. It's still pretty good. And then Zasha has a swap that is unlimited, but it is a 9-second cooldown. You basically swap him or any enemy all the way across the map into wherever you are. It could be a panic button of sorts if you really need to get set up into that sort of thing. And it's also on the same cooldown as imposter skills. So you can just go ahead and do that. On the alternate side of things, as an imposter, there are skills that do so much damage and are not reactable. For example, Hati is this wolf rider unit, and she has Elwind EX that does 84 green damage in one space. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, why is this relevant? This isn't fantastic. But it is. It's really, really good because my Hati's only level 3. You can get up to level 7, I think, as a free-to-play currently. Level 8 might be the cap for pay-to-win players, and every single level you get for this increases your damage by 7. So by my calculations, if you were to go up to level 7, that's 112 damage in one space. You're probably thinking that this is still not that much damage, but it is, because on a weapon you can add up to 3 more levels of a skill, and that will be 133 damage that is unreactable. You can't do anything about it. You are basically immediately guaranteed to take 133 damage. In most cases, most units will not have 133 HP. But this is where I give Light Team their secret hack of sorts. In your weapons, I guess we can talk about weapons a little bit after this, but in your weapons, if you want to be able to avoid damage like this, you can see here that my Gotthold has 131 HP. He's only level 4, and then every level he goes up, you can see he will gain 10 HP. He hits 141 at level 5. At level 6, it'll probably be 151, 161 after that, etc., etc. And he only has a weapon that gives him 15% HP. I believe that is probably the maximum amount of HP you can get even from the 7-star weapons. I haven't seen some of the 8-star ones, but I think 15 and 16% are around there. But either way, some units can stack that HP high enough that no matter how much level on that skill you have, you will not get one shot. Now, you will have to upkeep your healing by a lot, and it will be difficult, but if your imposter is on a 9-second cooldown for those unreactable skills, and you're able to swap out of harm's way and have your ally help you with healing and backup like that, you can be fairly invincible and not die. So that's the thing with weapons for the light side. Is I think you need to maximize HP. I think that will be part of the meta. I think the damage will be a slow burn. You can use things like poison to guarantee ongoing continuous damage and then just keep swapping out of the way while the enemy just kills themselves and dies. I've had a fair amount of success with the swap meta. For traders, no doubt this makes life harder. The tactic that I've been having a lot of success with is using this skill here, Dark Slash. Now, Dark Slash is one that will take 2 seconds to activate, so it is a reactable skill, but this one scales off of attack. For the light team, I don't feel like attack is very good. For traders, I don't think attack is very good either, But if you are going to use one thing, it is these skills that scale off attack percent, and then using the weapons that give you an overwhelming amount of attack percent. Because at some point, this is going to be 200%. And for a level 6 Karina, has 78 attack, I'm only on a 5-star weapon, 200% is going to be 156. Just off the top of my head, I think that math is right. 156. That will kill a level 6 Godhold currently. And this is not, keep in mind, this weapon only gives 45% attack, so you will be able to get an axe that has stronger than that. I think there are some that go up to 50%, and your base attack will also go up with level. So I'm pretty sure at one point you will still be able to have one-shotting Dark Slash, 100%. Another thing that I think is extremely powerful that I haven't utilized myself is you really only need one damage move, preferably in this slot here. I think most of the traders don't have good ones except for two that I'll talk about. One of them being Hati, because she can have a really strong, damaging, unique skill. You can have one heal to heal yourself if you need to, one damaging skill, and then I would actually recommend, I mean, this damaging skill, you don't need it if you have one here that's good, because these are both going to be on, well, this one's on a 7-second cooldown, the other ones will be on 9 seconds, so it's not that much worse. But I think the summon skills could be potentially underrated, because while you're getting sort of swapped out of the way and dealing with, the more enemies that you have on the field could potentially overwhelm your light team. So that's pretty much it for Imposter and Light Team tactics. Another thing that I think deserves mention is talking about some of the magic skills in depth, and we'll go in and talk about them here. So there's a lot of them. You have your standard damage, single target and AoE, so thunder, wind, all of that stuff. Minor impact is neutral. And then poison. I think the poison and the wind damages that tick every now and then are really, really good. I think poison might potentially be the best tick-based one every 6 seconds, and it goes 5 times. So would probably recommend investing in that if you are having longer drawn-out battles. I didn't really get much use out of these Tetra Edge, Tetra Shield skills. Again, they only reduce weapon damage, and from my experience, the majority of the damage you're taking is spell damage, except from sort of the extra monsters. It could be good, I guess, if you want to, but these are turn limited. The only permanent ones are on Godhold, so you would want to use him for that. The ones I really, really like are these self-heal push, heal pull, and minor pull. These are all swaps, and they're on very low cooldowns, and they will come in handy completely. I think the skills are something that's going to need a lot of expansion on in this game, so we'll see what they do in that regard. I also think the personal skills are not all made equal. So Godhold is one that I like the personal skill for, and then the other two really, really powerful ones are, like I said, Hati with her Elwyn DX, and someone that's also similar to that is Alberta. She has the exact same one. It's El Thunder, it's blue. Other than that, we don't really have any other options. Zasha is good because his personal one is a swap, like I said, and it's full field swap, so it's very convenient. But the normal swaps will be probably better than that. All of the other monsters, or not monsters, the other units, I haven't really found much use for. I think Heal Warp EX could be good with Psy. But other than that, I didn't identify anyone who's really good. I obviously have not tried any of these 4 here at the bottom, but just from looking at their skills, the only units I would recommend are Alberta, Hati, Psy, and then maybe Godhold. So blue is really dominating with maybe one green. Sorry, Dimitri fans. Sorry, Lin fans, they scammed you. For weapons, the weapons are actually deeper than I thought they were, and I'll go to the bazaar here and I will show you. So let's do swords, for example. There are multiple different types of 7-star swords. So you see the Crow Sword and the Royal Sword. Earlier there was an 8-star Crow Sword here, so there are higher level ones. And then these swords all have different stat variations. So the neutral one here, the Royal Sword, is 11% HP and 40% attack. It comes with a permanent default skill in this slot, which is 30% more weapon damage against axe foes. Again, I think this is the normal slash that you do, the one that's auto battle, not your spells. And then 3 empty slots. And in these slots, you can put in some extra skill boosts. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But the Royal Sword attack here, the one previously had 11 and 40. This is 6% HP, so it's less HP boost, but 50% attack. This is decent, but like I said, I think actually HP is king in this game, both from the trader standpoint and the light standpoint, because your skills are your major source of damage. Your weapon damage can be easily mitigated and is much slower than your skills. Useful, but not the main thing that you should go for. So I do anticipate that HP-based weapons that will still increase your attack percent, but will have more impact because you need to tank. You don't want to get one shot. And the more HP you have as a trader, the more chance you have to kill the heroes of light. And it is like this for most weapons. Now, the thing that changes is the type of skill here. Here you get 20% more weapon damage while HP is less than 50%. This is weapon damage against all enemies instead of the one that we previously saw that's just against axe foes, for example. And it is pretty much the same down to the 5 stars. There's 3 different variations of the 5 stars and the 3 stars. So you should check which weapon has the skills that you want. This Feral Sword, for example, does not have any, but it has 2 open slots. And then you have the Silver Sword, which just has 3 open slots with no skills. And the plushie here, which is also 3 open slots with no skills. And it's basically the same thing for all of the other weapons. They will have different variations of skills. I think there was a lance one that had... Some of them have 2 skills. I think those might have been the 9-star ones. But yes, you will see that. There's variations in the weapons, both from the stats they give and the skills that they have. Now let's talk about the weapon skills themselves. So you'll see here this staff, I can, in an empty slot, put in basically any skill I want that I have them from. You get these as rewards for winning battles, and you have trader ones that you can have, you have the normal light side ones that you can have, and then you also have the character-specific skills. So if I want to have Hasten Elthunder EX for Alberta on Alberta, I can reduce the cooldown by 5% after using the skill. Same thing here, I can just add a level to Elthunder EX, which is an extra 7 damage, like we were talking about earlier. So if I really wanted to have a max DPS Alberta, I would find a weapon with 3 empty slots, and I would put in 3 enhanced Elthunder EXs on her. So her skill will be level 10 if she's level 7, and that will give me just so much more damage. I'll be doing the 133 damage that I was talking about earlier, pretty much enough to one-shot almost every hero of light in the game immediately without them being able to react. Kind of cheap, sucks a little bit, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And honestly, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there were any other elements that I really wanted to cover. The game, like I said, I didn't give it enough credit in my first video, so I will backtrack that. I think it has a lot of room to go. The gameplay loop itself is still very much the same. It is the same thing over and over and over again. The early game is really easy. The mid-game becomes a little bit more fun because you have the people who are figuring out the game, they have the variation. And then you hit the end game, and it's not really that fun anymore because people are spamming the one-shots, they're spamming the swaps, like, the 2 metas are very evident, and it's just the same thing happening over and over again. And funny enough, they just put this in the news, which I find hilarious, is they say there's issues with matchmaking while you're using high-rank disciples. And basically it says if you're over 2200 rank, people are having issues matchmaking and they're just like, use a different character. That's not a way to fix it. That's a problem. And you shouldn't have to use a different character to the one that you like or want to use or have invested in just so you can play the game. I found that extremely weird. But yes, I think that just shows you that the people who are investing enough time to reach that end game meta tier where people are actually playing the game at high level, and then you have issues with matchmaking and they're like, deal with it. So there's a lot of room for things to improve. The shop has nothing of value worth getting. These are just level up packs that you can get from normally playing the game, and there's nothing really to buy with these gems other than discount cards for the shop so that you don't have to use as much gold, which I find crazy. The battle pass also adds almost no value unless the only thing you want is Lyn. So yeah, I don't see how they're really going to succeed in the monetization of this game. The outfits or whatever, but you're not really, I mean, they only cost like 50 of the currency. I don't see what they're going to do. And I don't think this gameplay loop is fun enough to be sustainable for a long period of time. For a week, maybe certain people will have fun, like me, who somehow now have continued to play the game long enough to figure some things out. Most people have dropped off by now, as evident by most of the comments, most of the reaction online, and the poll that I put up on my channel recently, where almost 90% of people are like either, no, I hate this, I've uninstalled. I think it was 60% of people said they hate it and they uninstalled. And another 30% of people were like, maybe I'll check in from time to time. So it's like 10% or less of people actually like this game, which I find is unfortunate. I was really hoping this would be something good and exciting and something that we can cover into the future. But as it stands in its current state, it isn't. It's better than I gave it credit for a couple days ago. I will admit that. But outside of that, I don't really have much to add. Hopefully this game is better, both for the sake of our community and for the sake of Fire Emblem, but that's pretty much all I've got to say for now. Let me know if you guys think otherwise. See you in another video very soon. Peace.